In India, when we speak about technology-enabled classrooms, it's mostly about access. My kids have access to technology, whether it's online or whether it's offline. I think today we spoke about students wanting to interact with the TV. But again, like interaction, that's just the surface of it. That's just about accessing content. What about interacting with the content? What about making something adaptive? Because these kids we're talking about today, some of them were born after Facebook was launched. And these kids expect the world to be social. They expect the world to be online. They expect the world to be competitive and fun. Because these are kids, and we put them through pen and paper exercises after they've been playing FIFA soccer on their PlayStation, and we get them to school and we say, okay, do 50 more of these or 20 more of these, and then teachers are spending time marking these worksheets. It's not efficient use of technology. What I believe technology can do, it can really enable teachers. You can empower teachers to actually teach. You can give them all the information that there is to know about every child, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are. Technology can do that for us. You don't have to have teachers working away laboriously, trying to figure out what do I need to teach next, what my class's weaknesses are. And obviously, when you get a lot of data over a period of time, you can start to draw correlations, you can start to compare, you can have benchmarks, and you can say, how does my class compare to the national average? Because it's not the classmates they're competing with. When they go for IIT exams, they have to compete with other kids from other schools. So how does one class compare to another class around the country? How does one school compare to other schools? So I work for a company, Mangahigh, that actually brings all of this together. We would love to implement that in more schools in India. So we're just launching today. In the shortest possible way, I would say Mangahigh is an online resource for maths for years 1 to 10. There's a teacher side to it, which allows teachers to follow a certain curriculum, and there's a student side to it, which allows students to consume content in a one-on-one environment where they can do tasks for class or for homework, they can compete with one another, and then they can have a social fun experience. So the biggest problem we solve is that of disengagement. Like I mentioned before, students have access to all the technology at home, right? They're on Facebook, they're on WhatsApp, and we know from WhatsApp recent news that it gets used a lot in India. Students are on Twitter and all of those technologies. But when they get to classroom, they're still doing pen and paper exercises. Now that seems to be a disconnect, right? So I think there's not two views about it, that technology or the content within the school has to evolve. So Mangahigh tries to offer a solution for those schools that are progressive, that are forward-looking, and that recognize this issue of disengagement and know that we need to address a 21st century student who expects the content to be adaptive, who expects the content to be online. It's about anytime, anywhere learning, which you could be on a tablet, you could be in a school bus going home, and you expect it to be social and engaging. I would say the names you would recognize is, one of them is my CEO, Toby Rowland. I work closely with him. I sit next to him in London. He started a company called King.com, which everyone is aware of now because King has subsequently launched something called Candy Crush Saga, which has got like over 100 million users. It's doing an IPO in NASDAQ. So Toby has a wealth of experience in terms of engagement in gaming. Then we also have as a chairman of our advisory board, Professor Marcus du Sautoy from Oxford University. He's the Simoni Professor of Public Understanding of Science. His job is to evangelize maths and science in the UK to make sure students are interested in hard subjects. And there's the whole team, like there's developers, there's pedagogists, there's people with PhDs on learning. So, and then obviously there's sales and marketing kind of team as well. Actually, we'd like to think ourselves as thought leaders. We like to think of ourselves innovators. So when we're recruiting people for making games or doing stuff, if they have worked in education, we don't hire them because we think e-learning has failed students. E-learning isn't about putting questions from textbooks online. I think what learning can be, it needs to be reimagined for new devices, for tablets, for computers, for laptops, for Chromebooks. It's not just about giving access to questions that exist in textbooks. That's not e-learning. So imagine if you didn't have the inertia of textbooks, what could learning look like? And we start with a blank state, and we try to imagine what the analytics would be useful. We obviously work with a lot of teachers. Like I mentioned, we're in a lot of US schools and Australian schools where students have access to technology. So we interview teachers, we do focus groups, we figure out what's needed, and then we try to invent it. We don't follow trends. So like any online site, it's all about data, right? So you do a lot of A/B testing. You would put two versions of a product out there and you'd say teachers prefer this or teachers prefer that. You have a different homepage and see what's the bounce rate on the homepage. You have engagement metrics as to how much time is a student spending on this question. Are they getting it right? Are they getting it wrong? So it's very data intensive and it's very what we call data mining serious. And we use all the data. We speak to teachers. We call focus groups all the time. We do that in Australia, the UK, and the US, where we ask teachers very open questions. What would they like to see? Would they like to make their own videos, for instance, like Khan Academy is would they like to be Salman Khan and have their own videos uploaded? Would they like to create their own worksheets, create their own assessments? What do they really want to see? So we ask open questions, and then we filter it out, and we say, okay, this is what they said, and this is what they actually need, because we've got a lot of schools, 5,000 schools are using it, and we have access to a lot of teachers, and obviously because the platform is engaging and their students love it, they're quite loyal to Mangahigh. They're very helpful and supportive, and we love our teacher community. I do think technology is going to go up the value chain. Like today, technology in India is seen as a gimmick. Like you go to a school, there'll be a computer lab, and there'll be no internet connection. You go to a lot of schools, there'll be 10 computers or 20 computers, and 5 of them or 6 of them just don't work. They don't boot up. And when they do boot up, they have like a really old operating system on it. So I do think technology is gonna take a forward seat. It's gonna be on the forefront, because schools will have to differentiate themselves over performance. And performance can only be enhanced by engaging the students. And to engage the students, you have to have the right kind of technology that appeals to this generation of students. And I do believe technology will penetrate into classrooms, and not just for learning computer science in a computer lab, but for learning hard subjects such as mathematics. And that's where someone like Mangahigh has a role to play.